Thom Hartmann here with you live today from the Families USA Radio Row, Health Action 2014 at the Hyatt Regency in Washington, D.C. on Capitol Hill. And with me right now is the co-founder and executive director of Families USA, Ron Pollock, and familiesusa.org, of course, is the website. Ron, it's great to see you again.
Great to see you, Tom.
It's been a well, not a long while, but it's been a while since we've talked. What's the state of things now? I think the last time we talked, Obamacare had yet to formally roll out. It's been a few months anyway, hasn't it?
Well, this month, January, is when some of the key provisions have gone into effect. So now the Affordable Care Act is live, it's real, and millions of people are already getting coverage who didn't have coverage before, and that's going to continue to grow. And the enrollment period runs through the end of March. I think by the end of that first enrollment period, I think we're going to see many millions of people who either have private health coverage with very significant subsidies to make premiums more affordable, or they'll get coverage through the Medicaid program, which is essentially for free.
Right, except in those states where there's the Medicaid Gap, the John Roberts Medicaid Gap. You want to tell us about that?
Well, what you're referring to, of course, is that when the Affordable Care Act passed, every state was supposed to implement this expansion of the Medicaid program for low-income families. And when the Supreme Court ruled on the Affordable Care Act, a very surprising part of its decision was it said that this requirement that states implement the Medicaid program is unconstitutional.
Right, you can't force states to take money from the federal government.
And so now it's a state option. 25 states have already accepted it, plus the District of Columbia. I think ultimately all the states are going to do it because it's a great deal. The federal government picks up 100% of the costs in the first 3 years, 2014, 15, and 16. It then diminishes slightly, but it never goes below 90%.
Right.
And mind you, the basic Medicaid program, the average payment by the federal government to the various states is 56%. So to have it go to 90 to 100% for the expansion is extraordinary.
Right. Well, this is why Jan Brewer defied her own Republican Party in Arizona and said, damn it, we're going to do it.
That's right. We now have a number of Republicans, Republican governors who strongly oppose the Affordable Care Act, who are part of the litigation against the Affordable Care Act, who said, geez, this really is a good thing for my state. So
it seems to differentiate the ones who do it from the ones who don't. Are the ones who don't take it are the ones who think maybe someday I'll grow up to be president. It's Rick Perry.
Or live down to be president.
Yeah, it's amazing.
But I think we're going to see a number of states. I think there's a good chance Pennsylvania will come in over the course of the next year, Virginia come in. New Hampshire, I think, is actively considering, as Maine. So I think we're going to slowly but surely see that all the states come in. When the Medicaid program was started, it wasn't a requirement.
Right.
And it took a while for all the states that came in, but all the states did come in. And remember, as I said before, they were getting paid a lesser matching dollar from the federal government than they are
56% versus 90. This is when it first started, you mean, under as part of the Great Society under LBJ?
In 1965, that's right. And it's continued that way.
Yeah.
And now there's this big, very generous, unprecedented amount of money that the federal government is providing so that the states will accept this Medicaid expansion.
Right, and it's just the Republicans who are just doing everything they can to try and make President Obama look bad or failed presidency or whatever. I mean, whatever their shtick is.
And it doesn't help a governor to say, our tax dollars are going to go to Washington, but they'll go to California or Arizona or
right. We don't want our own tax dollars back.
That's right, and I can't imagine that that's a really popular thing to do.
It doesn't seem like a conservative meme, to say, we don't want back our own tax dollars that we sent to D.C. We don't want our taxpayers to have them back.
Not only that, the states had the option to run, the Affordable Care Act in the states and set up their own marketplaces. Mm-hmm. Since when is it conservative ideology to say, I don't want the state to do it. I want the federal government to do it instead.
Right. Yeah.
I think we're going to see changes.
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think within a year or two, this is all going to be what was that all about?
This is all politics. It's all anti-Obama politics.
And the thing is, a lot of it is 2016 politics, so it may take a year or two. But then by 2016, isn't that when Vermont's going to be able to roll out their own single payer program?
Vermont is considering that. I think 2016, this is not going to be a big political issue, because when you have so many millions of people who've got coverage, it's not a very popular thing to say, and I'm the candidate who's going to take it away from you.
Right, yeah. So we're talking with Ron Pollock, the founder, president, what's your title here? It's co-founder and executive director. There you go, of Families USA. And what's Families USA up to right now? What are you guys doing?
Well, Families USA is job number one. Job number one of all the folks who are here at this conference is to help people know how they can benefit from the Affordable Care Act and get people enrolled. And we are trying to work with our colleagues in states across the country to get the Medicaid expansion implemented and get the states to accept it. But the next job is going to be trying to make sure people get value out of the healthcare system, decelerating healthcare costs, making sure people get quality of care.
Right.
So we make this a much more valued proposition.
It seems to me that the biggest inefficiency in our system is that, you know, net, if you look at the whole, right across the spectrum of from for-profit providers, for-profit hospitals, for-profit health insurance companies, for-profit drug companies, that the for-profit model we have here in the United States, I mean, in Switzerland, for example, they don't have a national healthcare system. They just have everybody's required to sign up, but they make it a crime to offer healthcare on a for-profit basis. It has to be not-for-profit. And so their system provides healthcare to all of their citizens at about half the cost of ours because nobody has to make a buck off it. You know, when you create a nonprofit corporation, you do it to do the purpose of the corporation. When you create a for-profit corporation, you do it to create money. Isn't that an area that we should be looking at?
Well, I certainly think it makes sense to look at that. You know, one of the things the Affordable Care Act does is it puts more power in the hands of consumers. So now when you have these marketplaces, it's not one single individual bargaining with an insurance company.
Right.
You really have a set of plans that are competing with one another, knowing that there are huge numbers of consumers who may buy their plan or somebody else's plan. And so I think that with these new marketplaces, I think it is going to decelerate costs.
Well, doesn't it create an incredible opportunity for, if anybody has the mass, I know that there's a guy in Chicago who's doing this with businesses in Illinois. It's a nonprofit small business federation, sort of a nonprofit progressive version of the Chamber of Commerce. And they've got a couple 100,000 or maybe it's less than that, but they've got a substantial mass of small businesses. And he's like, you know, we're going to hit a point where we get enough people signed up that we'll qualify as an insurance company and we'll go into the exchange. And because we're operating not for profit, we're just going to, you know, be able to really successfully compete with these for-profit companies. Because they got
right. A nonprofit organization that's doing this, when you eliminate that profit margin, it means that you can get coverage with a lower premium.
Right. Yeah. And typically the nonprofits don't have the gold, you know, the corporate jet with the gold-plated faucets in the bathroom and the
That's right.
the canapes and amazing. So we've got a lot of work to do. In the minute we have left, we're talking with Ron Pollock, the co-founder and executive director of Families USA, who is putting on this conference. What do you expect out of the conference?
Well, I think people just will get further inspired to take this enrollment process to the finish line and get millions of people enrolled. That's what we're hoping.
That's the big thing, is to get people aware that they can sign up at healthcare.gov, and familiesusa.org, I'm sure, has a...
Yeah, familiesusa.org, and we're going to have a new website up next month. But the idea is, let's make this historic legislation something real for the American public.
There you go.
And for families across America.
Brilliant. Ron Pollock, familiesusa.org. Thank you, Ron.
Always great to see you, Tom.
Thank you.